Then in verse 7 it says, "And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat." Doesn't the same thing get boring after a while? Don't we always hear that from people who are serving God from their youth? "Ah, we sang that song before. Oh, we heard that message." Why don't we ever hear how the heathen is tired of manipulating other people, provoking other people, bullying other people, hurting other people? Why don't you ever hear that they just get tired and just want to stop that life, or just want to be evil in peace? Is there such thing? Absolutely not. And that leads me to my next point. When a spirit is driving you, it's driving you to do things that are repetitive, things that you have no thought to say, well, this is boring. So you're no longer thinking when you're being led by a spirit, right? The spirit is driving you. As we've spoken many times before about the man who was led into the tombs, he was driven there. And he was driven there by what? A legion of spirits, many different spirits that encompassed that man to cut himself to a point where he even cried. And then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, "Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons?" So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And in verse 10, "And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, but wilt give unto thy handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth." So let's talk about the spiritual transformation that's happening with Hannah. In the beginning, we read about how she was weeping. But the way she wept was as though there was a helplessness, also met with a hopelessness. So it's as though she didn't know how to approach a problem. She knew she had a problem, which is why she wept, but she didn't know how to approach it, how to solve it, who to go to about it, right? But the second time, we hear that there's a bitterness that happens. And if we read about the New Testament, God speaks about how the Spirit makes intercession through a groan. So this bitterness in which he's feeling is really the Spirit stepping in, is fed up, is upset, is ready to break out, is ready to step forth. Because why? When the flesh is weakened, then the Spirit is strengthened. And that's exactly what happens. The flesh does not have the answer for Hannah. It knows the problem, but doesn't have the answer. So hopefully you see why there's such a big problem when you go to your flesh or lean to your flesh when you have problems. And you say, well, I just need to relax. I need to calm down. I need to gain back my poise by having a weekend of fun. That never works. That's not wisdom, nor is it understanding. And I'm guaranteed you're not going to have the answer. So with Hannah, we know that there's a spiritual transformation because she prayed. Praying is something that's led spiritually. And she's not only spiritually led to pray, but she's spiritually led to pray specifically for a son. And not only does she pray for a son, but she prays for a son that she could be able to give back and lend to the Lord. Now, this is a peculiar son she's looking for. We've spoken about this before, about making your prayers specific. Well, we can try, but the truth is, we don't know the future. We don't know what tomorrow holds for us. We don't know how to approach a lot of problems in which we deal on a day-to-day basis. It really has a lot to do with you praying using the Spirit. And sometimes, honestly, you just have to wait for God to intercede, that the Spirit could be activated. so you gain exactly what you need from God.